The Wife Who Hired a Hitman, the cold case that took 40 years to solve. Carol Morgan grew up in a small Bedfordshire village in England. She was known for her easy smile, her love of flowers, and her dream of one day running her own shop. In her early 20s, she met Alan Morgan, a tall, confident man with a quick wit and big ambitions. They first crossed paths at a summer fair in 1974. Alan was working at his father's stall, and Carol had come with a group of friends. A spilled drink and an awkward apology led to a long conversation that stretched into the evening. By the end of the night, Alan had her number scribbled on the back of a ticket stub. They began dating soon after. Alan would pick her up in his old Ford Cortina and take her to the seaside. They'd walk barefoot along the shore, sharing chips wrapped in paper, laughing at nothing in particular. He bought her a delicate silver bracelet one Christmas, telling her it was just the start of all the beautiful things he planned to give her. In 1977, they married in a modest church ceremony. The photograph showed them beaming. Carol in a lace gown she'd saved for months to buy. Alan in a slightly too big suit, but looking every bit the proud groom. Friends remembered how they danced for hours at the reception, barely sitting down. For a while, life seemed perfect. They opened a small convenience store together in Leighton Buzzard, Bedfordshire. The long hours were tiring, but Carol enjoyed chatting with regular customers and stocking the shelves with fresh bread and sweets for the children in the neighborhood. Alan handled the finances, while Carol became the smiling face everyone associated with the shop. But beneath the surface, cracks began to form. Alan was impulsive with money, making risky business decisions without telling Carol. He also began spending more time away from home, claiming he was meeting suppliers or chasing deals. Carol confided to a close friend that she suspected he was seeing someone else, a woman named Margaret, who had been coming into the shop more often. By 1981, the marriage had grown tense. Friends noticed Alan's temper flare more easily, and Carol appeared quieter than before. Yet she continued to work at the shop, perhaps believing that if she kept things running smoothly, they could salvage what they once had. On the night of August 13th, 1981, Carol stayed late at the shop. The next morning, a delivery driver found her lifeless body behind the counter. She had been shot at close range. There were no signs of forced entry, no robbery, no fingerprints that could identify a suspect. The police investigated for months, but with no solid leads. The case eventually went cold. Alan grieved publicly, giving interviews about how some monster had taken his wife from him. Within a year, he sold the shop and moved in with Margaret. The couple raised Carol's 2 children together, presenting themselves as a loving family. For decades, the case gathered dust, until 2021, when a woman named Jane Bunting came forward. Jane claimed that back in 1981, Alan had approached her in a pub, asking if she knew anyone who could take care of a problem. He allegedly told her he couldn't afford a divorce and needed Carol out of the way to start a new life with Margaret. Jane hadn't gone to police at the time, fearing for her safety, but guilt had haunted her for years. Her testimony reignited the investigation. Forensic technology had advanced since 1981, and although the murder weapon was never found, investigators discovered inconsistencies in Alan's old statements. Several witnesses recalled seeing Margaret near the shop on the night of the murder, a detail she had always denied. In 2024, Alan Morgan, now 72, was arrested and charged with arranging his wife's murder. The trial revealed chilling details. phone records, old witness statements, and Jane's account painted a picture of a man willing to sacrifice love for money and convenience. The jury took just 2 days to find him guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 22 years before parole. Margaret was tried alongside him, but acquitted due to lack of evidence linking her directly to the crime. Carol's children, now in their 40s, sat in the courtroom as the verdict was read. They had grown up believing their mother's death was a tragic mystery, only to discover it had been orchestrated by the man who had raised them. The silver bracelet Alan had given Carol all those years ago was found in her belongings after her death. Her daughter now wears it, a reminder of the mother she barely knew and the life stolen from her by greed and betrayal.